All right, let's get into our next discussion now. Technically defeated, so says the federal government, but Boko Haram is still wreaking havoc in the northeast. The insurgents at the weekend attacked 2 communities in Jere local government area of Borno State.
Well, barely 24 hours after Boko Haram released a video claiming attack on a military base in Kumshi and Gulumba areas of Borno State, the insurgents struck Bale Shuari village, which is less than 500 meters from Giwa barracks. Now, the development caused residents to actually, flee for their lives. All right, well, as a result of heavy gun battle between the group and the military. The first attack allegedly claimed 19 lives, while the second one left 33 people dead.
Right. Okay, Northeast security analyst Balazaka is joining us in the studio right now, and we'll be talking about this. And we also expect to have a journalist join us as we get along, Aliyu Lawal Swalawa. He will join us from Abuja studio. Well, Bala, good morning. It's good to see you.
Thank you.
Now, the military has assured Nigerians, has made statements as regards the fact that they are on course, they are on top of the issue, they have degraded Boko Haram, they have technically defeated Boko Haram, and so on.
Correct.
Now, what we have seen in the last few weeks, and let me say relatively few weeks, the killing of humanitarian workers, the bombing of places, the attack on military bases, the abduction, and all of that, it seemed like it's still the same thing that happened 2 years ago or 3 years ago, when, or even 4 or 5 years ago, when Boko Haram was still at the peak of things. What's your analysis?
Not exactly. This is the way I view things.
Okay.
The military has been trying, or let's say our security agencies have been trying. But to be honest, we have been dealing with monsters. And somehow, somewhere, I think it will not be out of place to say we have also been dealing with traitors and probably betrayers. But fundamentally, I think it is also clear that economic concerns have, one way or the other, affected the fight against the terrorists or the insurgents. I mean, it's very practical. I mean, we are now living in a country where, if you go to that flank of Nigeria, you know, people who ordinarily are not in IDP camps try to find their ways to IDP camps just to do or just to survive. People are hungry. Things are bad. You know, the one way I can connect it to another part of the country is this. There was a time, you know, when we had the Niger Delta crisis, you know, the Yaradua packaged amnesty and the rest. Something was actually going to happen that will have messed up the entire arrangement. Because you now had a situation where, yes, the militants were about to get themselves probably rehabilitated, you know, their lives structured. Then from nowhere, those who have been peaceful, who were not involved in militancy, were just left unemployed. I discussed with so many people that I knew. People who, okay, you now said, these guys are troublesome. Yeah, okay. We came up with ways to take care of their lives, improve their lives, and get them integrated into the bigger Niger Delta and by extension, the greater Nigeria. But those who are there peaceful, the school cert holders that are peaceful, that are not into militancy, the NCE holders, the HND holders, the graduates, for the entire period of the amnesty, these other guys were just there jobless.
Abandoned.
Yes, because before we knew what was happening, some started feeling that if they had joined the militancy,
they too would have been benefiting.
and so something close to that on a serious note and on a practical note is happening in that part of the
so
country.
This is not necessarily a resurgence of insurgency, but an entirely new wave.
A decay
of you know, people taking up arms against the state. Is that what you're saying?
Not necessarily.
Okay, let me take it out and allow you to still clarify on that. Aliyu Saulawa is a journalist right there in Abuja studio. Good morning once again. Thanks for staying there. I mean, you have a bird's eye view, I believe, on, you know, developments in the northeast. The Chief of Army Staff, Tukur Buratai, has been saying that the whole concept, saying that this is a resurgence, is actually a disservice to the military. I wonder what you're able to tell us about this, you know, renewed attacks on the part of Boko Haram.
Well, thank you very much for the interview. But people should understand one thing, that these problems of Boko Haram, it has so many problems and many ways, but especially now that we are into, we look at two ways. Number one is the issue of it is time for campaign now. And number two, there are too much poverty, you know, within the people around that area, simply because what has happened has made people, you know, living without jobs, without any business. And moreover, if you look at the area, that place, Borno, Yobe, and other places, they are mostly farmers, fishermen, and other vulnerable business people around that place. But what happened presently is what I'm going to talk about,
yes,
with the recent, you know, attacks and the measures taken by the military. What I have analyzed here is the Chief of Army Staff, the steps he has taken presently in redeploying those that overstate military officers, and at least changing of the commanders, honestly has helped, because it is an idea maybe has used to inject new officers who are willing, and they don't have any contact on the ground that one will plead on behalf of another, or one should do something. But they will do it willingly to see that they have earned the confidence of their Chief of Army Staff. At the same time, they will give their own contributions so that the whole world will see that they are deserving armies officers that can deliver to the expectation. Let me give you an example of what happened last week, when the military, the Air Force went strategically, find out the hideout, and they have raided the place, bombarded everything. But unfortunately, the intelligence message they got to the place, already there are some of the people that went out for attacks. So those people that are coming back from the attacks, they later learned that their whole camps were being destroyed by the military. In view of that, out of anger, they just went, they did what they did 2 days or 3 days ago by stealing, cutting away with 200 cows, 300 sheep, and some foodstuffs. That strategically show you that they don't have base now to go back, and they don't have food to eat. That means they have to look for a way. The cows, they will sell it to their co-agents. Then the sheep, they will sell it at the same, but the foods, they will use it to eat, which means they have been indisposed now. Then, again, the military intelligence also gathers of informations that those people now, they don't have anywhere to go. So they passed all the informations to the neighboring states and commands, and even Niger and Cameroon Republic. Okay. That these people now, they don't have the camp, so they are at, they can be attacked anywhere.
All right,
so
Aliyu, yes, Aliyu, we'll come back to you on this. We'll come back to you on this. The report we got recently, in fact, from what Aliyu was saying, where about 200 cattle and 300 sheep can be taken, and because the process of stealing about 200 cattle.
Cattle.
It's mind-boggling, and
Exactly.
how they will succeed with that in a place like that. But the main question here is, you have always been saying that the issues in the Northeast the bane is economic. Or socio-economic,
especially
if I have to
now.
put it like that.
Yes.
Now, the state government, the local government, the federal government, do you see an urgency in turning that around? Even not in the center of Maiduguri per se, but even in the states that are adjoining to all of this, so that the transformation can begin to change. Are you seeing the urgency in that?
Well, efforts are being made, but you know, there is one thing you call efforts, and there is something you call sufficiency. You see, that flank of the country is at risk now. And in this context, let me define a risk. A risk is the chances of threat, in this case, Boko Haram, taking advantage of vulnerabilities. In this case, again, economic vulnerabilities to cause you harm. So the harm are the practical damages, the killings you are seeing. The threat is the terrorist. But the vulnerabilities are the areas we need to look at. What makes people vulnerable? The poverty now is making people to become voluntary volunteers, right? The military, or let me just say, the security forces are overstretched. They are almost getting worn out. It's very, very practical. You know, the reason why we speak these things now, like the journalist was talking, there are different ways of getting information. We've talked about different strategies, and we've even defined who these terrorists are, their approaches. Like we said, they adopt the weapon of indoctrination, right?
Yes.
Propaganda and radicalism. But if you look at it now, they are not even, they are not into propaganda like before. But people are just vulnerable. People are deprived. Before I come here, like I told you, I school in the then northeastern state of Nigeria, comprising Adamawa, Gongola, and Borno. My classmates are the people who are now the fathers and the grandfathers. And like I once said, when people like me will talk to my primary school classmate or my secondary school classmate, he will not be talking to me as if he's talking to a security agent or somebody who will come and talk on air. He will tell me the raw thing that is going on.
The reality on ground.
People are suffering. And before you know, they have, on their own, they are now betraying themselves.
Okay, let's take this, you know, to Aliyu Saulawa, a journalist there in our Abuja studio, before we let him go. Now, the Chief of Army Staff actually cited one of the major challenges in, you know, pushing back effectively the Boko Haram. He talked about the understanding of the terrain by the Boko Haram, that in itself has been a major problem, which the military, you know, cannot say is its own strong point. So the Boko Haram have this edge against the military. What can you tell us about the terrain, really, that makes it even tougher for the military to handle?
No, honestly, to my own understanding and analysis, the Chief of Army Staff has handled them very well. Because as I told you, the transfers and the redeployment of the military officers he have done has, you know, achieved a lot of, success in that. So to my own analysis, he have achieved, and he deserves to be at least recommended for that. Let me give you an example. The troops of 82 Division Task Force, you know, in Ngoshe with civilian JTF, you know, they have cleared the whole Agapua. It's a place where some of the Boko Haram are based, so they have cleared them. So if at all, at this crucial time, that the Boko Harams now are on run, that at the same time, their base were found and destroyed, and they are now running to look for money or food, which means the Chief of Army Staff have done very well, and they are now on the run. if you look at the history, the Nigerian military and all agencies are on defensive side. But now, the Nigerian military is always ahead of the Boko Haram. And even what happened yesterday, I think you will learn of the troops of 25 Task Force Brigade Chibok and that of 28 Task Force Brigade in Dambua jointly clear Gumsuri. Yesterday, they have burnt a lot of food that these people have taxed, and they look at it. These people are forcibly collecting food that people that have bought or something like that.
Okay.
It's mostly from the farmers.
All right.
Yeah.
Ali, we have to thank you.
And they have liberated about 7 villages now.
Okay.
Yesterday.
Okay.
And the villages that Litawa, Kashmiri, Dole, Mulamari, Bodachina, and Jaba, and Bale.
Okay.
They have all been liberated yesterday by the military. So the Chief of Army Staff is supposed to be commended.
All right. Aliu Lawal Saulawa, a journalist, thank you very much for joining us from our Abuja studio. It's really nice to hear all of that.
So now, obviously the terrain issue is not too much of a challenge.
I don't think the terrain is that challenging.
Yeah, but the Chief of Army Staff
Nigerian
actually mentioned that it was a challenge for them.
Well, but the issue here, part of it is, we have heard the military say before that there is no territory that is controlled by Boko Haram.
Correct.
And then when we hear the concept of reclaiming of portions of communities where Boko Haram is, doesn't that seem to be a contradiction?
Very, very high contradiction. But you see, when you talk in things that have to do with security, you have to be very careful not to be the person stabbing yourself again. Even though there are fundamental questions some of us will ask. You know, there was a time at the beginning of when this thing started, we really carried out analysis. Like one, I remember some of us pointed out then was, you know, when they were coming, then they used to come with gun trucks, right, motorcycles. And we said, then we wanted to address intelligence gathering. And we started by encouraging that even if there was power tussle among the different security agents, then they needed to work as a team. You understand, for a common success and the greatness of Nigeria. And some of us then said, that was when this, because everybody was wearing his thinking cap. The village person, the market woman, everybody needed peace in that, around that flank of the country. I remember one thing some of us still came up with and suggested and said, if you are able to get one truck, because then they will come with like 100 trucks, at the end, there will be what we call collateral damage. But probably you will discover 5 or 10 trucks. What were we saying then? We said then, if you can get 5 or 10, even one truck, the chassis number and the engine number, depending on the manufacturer, if you call the manufacturer, you will know when that truck or the batch of trucks were manufactured, how they were moved, the first point of, you know, containerizing them, shipping them, who shipped them, how. You know, then we were, at a point we felt it's like we wanted to be revealing the secret we should discuss with security. Even from there, you will have known the sources. And you know, like we always said, there were simple things we needed to do, cut off communication, cut off sources of funding, and use your ground troops to block everywhere. As long as what is happening is within the geographical confines called Nigeria, there is nothing wrong in going to cycle even if it means
and
10,
how much of
20 states.
You know, navigational
exactly.
aids do we actually use?
You know, we were talking about also satellite control. Because, okay, now you're talking about 300 cows. I mean, even if people are, there is a demonstration of 20 people, with good satellite communication, you can capture them.
How do you steal 300
But you
cows?
see, when you're talking about yourself and you want to correct your system, there are certain things you will also be saying again. You are divulging information to the enemy.
Right,
it's very sensitive, but the good thing is we are still on the right course. We are all united. We want to stamp this monster out of Nigeria, and we shall eventually succeed.
Balazaka, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.